Good morning, everyone. Glad you're here this morning. Just a few housekeeping things. We are going to record this so we can play it back later, perhaps. But I do want you to ask questions. Because we have such a small group, I think it's okay to do it during versus at the end. And so if anyone says anything and you want them to answer a question, just raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you. And so welcome to the garden. Good, happy Saturday morning. Welcome to the Missouri Botanical Garden. My name is Michelle Martin Bonner, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here in Belonging. I've been here at the garden since April of 2022, and this being Black History Month, we wanted to recognize our Black farmers in the region in St. Louis. And as I'm learning about science, conservation, and people in our climate. I was previously in the legal industry, so this is all new to me, but I realized that there were some Black farmers in our community and I didn't know who they were. And so we reached out, and so we had a tabling event throughout the month where farmers could come and share what they do, why they do it, and who they serve. And so I hope that was beneficial for them. And again, we really appreciate them taking the time to come to the garden and share what it is that they do. And so our panelists this morning are here to answer questions and tell you about what they do. And I'm going to ask them some questions, but again, I want you to ask questions as well. And so on our panel this morning, we have Mima Davis from Urban Buds City Grown Flowers.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we have Tyran Heru-Lewis of Heru Urban Farming. And being so kind to sit in for us this morning is Ernest Willis, who is the farm manager for Heru Farms. So welcome him this morning. So with that being said, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Mima, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them about what you do?
Sure. Okay, good morning. My name is Mima Davis, and I am co-owner of Urban Buds City Grown Flowers. That's what we do. We grow flowers. We sell direct to florists. We sell at Tower Grove Farmers Market. We do weddings and events and parties and anything to do with flowers. We grow right here in the city, about 2 miles from here, in the Dutchtown neighborhood. We have about an acre flower farm, which is pretty unusual to have an acre in the city. I've been farming for about 30 years now, flowers only. We do some ornamental vegetables, but they go into the flowers, into the bouquets. What else could I tell you about me? That's about it, I think.
All right, thank you. All right, Tyran.
Yeah, how y'all doing today? My name is Tyran Heru-Lewis. I'm the owner and CEO of Heru Urban Farming. I've been doing this since 2018. I'm a fifth generational farmer. My family was prize-winning farmers in Paris, Texas, down in Lamar County. My great uncle, he started All Black Co-op in 1939 in Paris, Texas, and they purchased 24 acres and they grew tomatoes. Now that's unheard of in the South, right? From 1950 to 53, really, man, my cousins, great aunt, great uncles, they all won first and second and third place prizes in the state fairs. Now back in those days, they had Negro fairs and you had your white fairs, right? And you know, they was in Negro fairs, of course, and they won. I mean, they ran it through. We had news articles like the Washington family ran you know, the district fair again, right? Those type of things. And I didn't know these things till I started growing. What got me to grow really, I was a teacher at first, and then I noticed the discrepancies in our neighborhood, the differences between the food, you know, and compared to our suburban counterparts. For example, we got a lot of gas stations, Family Dollars, you know, Dollar Trees, all them different things with low value, right? You might get lucky and find a banana or something like that at the cash register, you know, when you go somewhere. And if you are lucky to have a grocery store in your neighborhood, it's different from the suburban counterparts. So I saw that. And I might get more into that as the panel go along, but I saw that and I wanted to make a difference, and that's what I did. So we located in North County and Florissant at Confluence Farms. Also got a community garden on Mafford and Union. Also got I got another spot on Larimore as well now. So I'll be doing that. So I got accumulation of all my spots, a little under 2 acres all together. We sell North Syrup Food Hub, City Greens. We do farmers market at Be Well Farmers Market on the north side. We're thinking about doing Tower Grove this year as well. I sell to chefs and I do CSAs. Every 5 we sell, we donate to a family in need. Do a lot of collaborations. We got agriculture curriculum. We go to schools around St. Louis. I know we're working with Hawthorne School for the girls. We got Brittany Woods now. We got a couple after school programs as well that we work with. We bring herbalists in, chefs in, teach them how to make added value product and things of that nature. And yeah, I want to get to rambling, but yeah, that's it. I'll pass it on.
How y'all doing?
Morning.
I am Ernest Wills. I work with Tyran. I've been working with Tyran for, this is gonna be third season?
Yeah.
Third season, I'm his farm manager. I also started my own urban farming organization. It's called Claudia's Urban Gardens. And what we do is we make container gardens for people. And so that kind of got started. So it's called Claudia's because that was my father. And 2015, he got lung cancer. He was an avid gardener and he couldn't do his garden that year. And so myself and my wife, we did his garden for him. We had no idea what we were doing. We just was listening to his directions, put it in this way, water it good, press down the roots, all that type of stuff. He ended up passing later on that year. But that is where my gardening hunger started. And so every year after that, I said I was gonna grow something in his honor. And so I got into container gardens maybe like a couple years after that because I liked the control that you had with container gardens. You don't have to deal with a lot of weeds. You don't have to deal with fixing the soil if you're in an area where the soil is pretty bad. And so I kept, working at it, perfecting it. And I think the year was 2018. I was doing my gardens in my own spot, and my mom had not had her garden done where Dad had done it for so many years. And I said, Mom, it's time. And she didn't want to do it because she was just like, she wasn't ready. And so I said, well, I'll do it. And I remember doing it, and she called me. I was still teaching at the time. She called me one morning and she was crying. She was like, I'm so glad you did this because it's like I'm looking at your father. And so every year I've done her garden for her, and word just kind of spread about what I was doing and how I was doing it. And so it got to the point to where people was asking, can you, do a garden for me? And so I said, okay, let's do it, and let's call it Claudia's Urban Gardens. And so that's what I do. Like I said, I also work with Tyran, and I'm excited to be here and ready for the growing season. I got my seasons popping up. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, awesome. You touched on a little bit about what motivated you, but what do you think people need to know about Black land, food sovereignty, or food insecurity? Who wants to go first?
I go first. So we had kind of a Black farmers meet and greet not too long ago. And what was asked was, what was the primary thing that the farmers needed? It was maybe about 10 of us, something like that, in the St. Louis area. And everybody wrote land. Everybody wrote land. Some people wrote some other things, but the predominant thing was access to land. Because we live in the city, and there is not as much farm space in order to grow the things that a lot of farmers want to grow. So I think for Black farmers, having access to land is a big hurdle. Myself and Tyran, we're fortunate to be able to work at Confluence Farms, where they basically donate land for us to grow on. I became a member grower this year. He's been a member grower for 3 years, something like that. And so I think it's about a 10 acre plot of land, and I think we have like two and a half, something like that. So we're fortunate to have that opportunity, but we know a lot of farmers in the area do not have that opportunity. So I think land is the biggest issue. One of the reasons why I started this company is because I want to encourage people to grow in whatever space you have. That's what I did. And even though my space was limited, sun access was limited, I was still able to grow tomatoes, peppers, greens, broccoli, spinach, all type of stuff without a lot of sun and all those type of things. So you can grow in any space, but to be able to expand, to be able to produce more food for your community is land access. That's the bottom line. So that's the number one thing that I see most black farmers saying that they need is access to land.
Yep.
Tehran, you want to add to that? Or would somebody have a question? Yes, go ahead.
How much land access would, like, for example, feed a whole community?
So I'll repeat the questions. How much land access would feed the entire community? Okay.
So when you say community, you're talking about like a block of people or a neighborhood? Okay. You don't need a ton of space in order to grow food for a community. You just need to really know how to use the space. There's something called vertical gardening, where you're growing up, and so that's one of the methods that I use. It enables you to get more food in a smaller space. But I would say if you have, like, your plot is what, a quarter acre in in Matfield.
10,000 square feet.
If that entire space was used to grow food, that could feed a couple blocks. But it's just me and him and a couple other workers working on there. You would need at least 10, 15 people to maintain that full time to get that type of production on a plot like that. And that's just a quarter of an acre. So.
All right.
All right, and I agree with everything Ernest said. I just want to put that on. So I think we all need to know about our inequalities and everything like that in the community. For example, like some stats, 850,000 people in the city, in the metro area, don't have sustainable produce within a half-mile of their community. That's walking distance. Less than 1% of the food grown in Missouri stays in Missouri for food consumption, right? So most of the food grown in Missouri is for animal feed and food processing, right? And that's a shame. You know, we got all this land here in Missouri. Most of our produce come from over 1,200 miles away. So we talking about Mexico, California, things of that nature. So you gotta know what we're dealing with. Even with the differences, like I said, my story was about Snooks. I just put it out there. Like, I went to Snooks. This is back 2017. I went to one over there on Union Natural Bridge. Man, I went there. I wasn't impressed at all. Like, what I saw. I mean, they getting better now. I think they'll be talking about it, but it's still different, right? So I went there. Then I went to Linden. I went to Snooks on there. It was better, but I'm like, still got to get better than this. I thought that was the best Snooks, to be honest. And then I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to go to Clayton. So I'm like, man, let me check out Clayton. Went there. I was like, wow, like, man, that might be the best Snooks. I mean, they got, man, you ain't even got to take your time deciding, right? They got samples, man. Like, that tripped me out. We ain't even got samples in the hood. Like, I want to try some stuff too, you know? Then I went to West County. Man, that's a whole different animal. Like, the structure different. You know how Snooks got the same building structure? Not there. They're like, I don't know what that look like. You walk in there, I see winery, people cooking sushi. You got names of where the alcohol come from, the states, the country, and all that stuff. Man, back in them days when I went there, I didn't know what dragon fruit was and star fruit and all that other stuff and stuff I can't pronounce, you know. And so we need to know that, number one. But I say land access is definitely a thing, especially when you're in an urban setting, right? But that's how you, like you say, grow vertically or try to figure it out. But another thing is capital, you know, just starting off. Policy changes too. That's why I'm fortunate enough to be, I'm having so many organizations. I'm on Young National Growers Coalition with land owners. Let me get this right. Land Advocacy Coalition. Sorry, it's a tongue tie. Anyway, that's one of, so we going to DC the first week of March to talk to Congress about the Farm Bill, right? So we go over there, just tell my stories, you know, tell them what we need, tell them what we want to see. I'm on the board of directors for the Missouri Farmers Union as well. And I'm on the Urban County Committee for the FSA, USDA. And that just help growers, you know about the funds that's out there and trying to get more funds, grants not loans, things of that nature. You know, man, it's a rabbit hole for real. Like I say, food apartheid. I think that's deliberately done. So you know, it's a whole system structure, right? Whole thing. So you gotta hit it from policy, getting to action, all type of things you got to do. It's not just one particular thing that I can just point out, but we do need to know the differences and the discrepancies so we can find a plan of action to attack it.
Awesome. So, Mima, you've been doing this for 30 years. Can you talk a little bit about why you've been doing what you're doing for so long? And
Yeah, can I address what
Yes.
they said first? I totally agree with the land access. And it just keeps rolling. It's like a snowball after that. Okay, you get land, and then you've got to have seeds and all the supplies that you need to produce that. But then you have to sell it, right? You have to sell it. And we're talking about getting good, healthy, nutritious food to people who can't afford good, nutritious, healthy food in the system as it is today, right? So the farmer has to be able to earn an income to keep doing what they're doing to provide that food, but yet people can't afford that food at the price the farmer needs to charge for it. So it's somebody's got to cross the bridge. You know, there's this gap, this huge river between the two, and somebody's got to cross it. So is it the farmer? It can't be the people, because we already know they can't afford it, and that's how we're here. So, I mean, there is this huge discrepancy between the two. And so there's got to be food subsidies or something for the farmer, and for the small farmer, for the local farmer. There's subsidies for the big ag, but there's zero for the local farmer. Now, for your question, I've been doing this for 30 years. My passion is flowers, and I got into farming kind of through the back door. It's a long story, but basically my mother introduced me to farming. I'm from New York City, lived in New York City, was in social work in 1989. She got married to a guy who was a great listener, and when she decided to move to Missouri to be with him, he bought her a house that had 132 rose bushes and an attached greenhouse. And when I flew out for the wedding, basically, she walked me into this greenhouse and she said, "Look, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but don't let anything die." And I was in social work, and that week that I house sat for them while they were on their honeymoon, I drove around to little garden nurseries trying to make a scrapbook for my mom of all these little plants, taking leaves to garden nurseries, and I just fell in love with agriculture. So I started, I moved from New York City to I bought a farm. That was the other thing, was that I was living in New York City in 1989, paying $1,500 a month for a studio apartment. And during that week I was in Missouri, I got a newspaper and saw that I could buy a 20-acre farm and have change left over from what I was living in a studio apartment for. And I just thought that was amazing. And I did it. I didn't know what I was doing. Most of my friends thought I was having a nervous breakdown. But I did. I moved to a rural community that had a flashing light as their light in town. It was in Ashland, Missouri. And I was the only raisin in that oatmeal, okay, in that community. And you know, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I mean, literally farmers would sit at the end of my driveway and go, "What is she doing?" And, you know, on their tractors. And I just started to farm. I did not know what I was doing, and had a lot of mentors along the way, and just started farming. And I've always, only until really recently, I've always, in associations that I've been in, always been the only African American in those associations. That is now changing as I am mentoring people and bringing them into the fold. But I've seen great progress with more African Americans having an interest in farming. I think that historically, as we all know, right, it's kind of left, farming's left a bad taste in a lot of young people's mouth, right? I mean, historically, farming hasn't always been good to us, right? So, we've had to undo some of the historical pieces or relook at some of those historical pieces. I remember when my dad came to visit my farm, and I had cotton growing, ornamental cotton. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, hey, I'm trying to get some of that money back. I mean, my parents are both highly educated people and really, really struggled for a long time to understand why I would want to go backwards, so to speak. They were highly educated and they just wanted more for me and hated to see me struggle and work so hard when they had done that already. And my people were farmers, my grandparents, right? In my history, a lot of farmers from Arkansas. So, I kind of went backwards in their mind. Now they're both like thrilled. I mean, I'm successful, that, they got it. It's my passion. They want me to be happy. We're over those bridges, but it was a rough road to hoe.
So with that, what are some things that we can do to encourage younger generations, to get more involved and engaged in farming?
Yeah, kind of like what we're doing now, engage with the youth. I mean, I love the youth. I used to be a teacher, so PE teacher and a health teacher, so that's just what I like to do, genuinely. But just go to the schools, do what we doing, form the school programs we got, engage them, let them know it's cool. I think I'm a cool guy, so when they see me come in, I think that they can relate. So yeah, I think just attack the youth for real.
I think that, so I'm going to speak from the perspective of a 10-year teacher. I taught in the public school system for 10 years. I was a high school math teacher, but I taught pretty much everything. Farming is not in the curriculum, and there is no push to get it in the curriculum. According to the state, you have to have science, reading, math, English, and then electives. There is no emphasis to get farming, gardening, any type of growing anything into the curriculum. I'm a firm believer that there are certain things that the system wants us to know, and then there are certain things that the system does not want us to know. Most people have no idea that they can grow food pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so because it's not emphasized via policy in the school system, the kids have no interest in it. They don't see how they can make money doing it. All they know is the cornfields, the soybean fields, stuff like that. They don't know that they can grow lettuce under their kitchen lamp. They don't know that they can grow watermelon in a small area in their backyard. They have no idea. And so just the information piece, getting them that information, because like Tyran said, we work with young people all the time. When we explain stuff to them, they interested, like they asking questions, they are completely engaged when we are working with them on the farm. And I mean, kids are not supposed to be in the classroom sitting down 8 hours a day. They're just not. So when they're out, hands in the soil, learning how the soil works, learning what needs to be into the soil, they're actively engaging and they're actively learning. But there is no Missouri standardized test to determine what have you learned from farming. So that is a big hurdle. It's not, because it's not important to the state, it's not important to the districts. So that's just my perspective on that.
Any questions from our audience? Yes, sir.
I go to Bayless High School.
Okay.
And I believe that they're really, they can move around schedules really easily, and they're really open to new things. Do you have any ideas on how I can push forward gardening in our school?
I would start with a petition signed by students and parents about getting a gardening or farming curriculum implemented as an elective. That's what I would start, because then they would see that this is something that the community wants. You said Bayless. My senior year, y'all whooped us in basketball by like 30 points. So I remember playing you guys. But that's where I would start. It has to be the community voice letting the policymakers know, hey, look, we care about this. We think this is important. And that is actually a very good area to start growing food, like the Bayless area. That was that southwest area of St. Louis. That's a good area to start growing food. So that's where I would start. You could present the signed petition at district board meeting, present it to your principal, have them advocate for it as well. But there's strength in numbers. So the more people you get to sign it, the more pressure you will put on them to get that in the curriculum.
I'm gonna touch on that too. It is one school here, Brittany Woods. We just looked at them. Now they got,
Yeah.
man, they awesome, man. I think more schools should be like Brittany Woods. They actually is in the curriculum. It's called sustainability. They got sustainability 1 and 2. That's their class units. They got 20 raised beds. They got 4 chickens. They got a kitchen made there for added value product stuff. Man, they got some stuff going on over there, man. For real. And I'm so excited to go there next week just to see that. But
That's the U City School District?
Yeah.
University?
yeah. So that's a good model to go off of.
There used to be a lot more farm to school programs in the city of St. Louis. St. Louis, what is it? SLU used to have a huge grant that bought food and grew food at a farm, paid that farmer, had students on that farm, and then that food went into the kitchen of Maplewood. And they had a chef at the school that then prepared that food for the students to eat. Our problem is that there are these grant programs that do great, get a good jump start, and then that grant funding goes away. And we got to stop relying on those granting programs. There are programs in the city to help schools get gardening in the city. I think they changed the name from Gateway Greening. Seed St. Louis really helps with school gardens too. When you have those petitions, as he said, then there's the next step of finding somebody to actually help with the resources, because it does cost money to build garden beds. Wood is very expensive now. So they give grant allotments to help schools get more gardening beds in.
Okay, all right, awesome. So I want to talk a little bit more. Taran, you mentioned food apartheid. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I'm actually prepared for that question because I want to pay homage to the person who that created that term. Her name is Dara Cooper, and she was the National Black Food Justice Alliance. This is back in 2017. That's the first person that I'm aware of that said it. And her definition was the systematic destruction of black self-determination to control our food, including land, resource theft, and discrimination, a hyper-saturation of destructive foods and predatory marketing, and a blatantly discriminatory corporate controlled food system that results in our communities suffering from some of the highest rates of heart disease and diabetes of all times. Many tend to use the term food desert. However, food apartheid is a much more accurate representation of the structural racializing inequalities perpetrated through our current system. That's her there. I think she hit it on the nail. In my summary, in my way, I explain, I say, it's deliberately done, basically. That's the definition of it to me. Yep.
Ernest, you have any thoughts around that?
I think that that definition is it's pretty accurate. It has roots in, at least in my opinion, it has roots in Jim Crow. The basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Access. It's inaccessibility. That's the word I'm looking for. Like what Tyran was talking about is not having access to the high quality food and being given low quality food. I mean, McDonald's is everywhere, especially in North St. Louis City. Burger King, Jack in the Box, there's nothing healthy coming out of there. Nothing. I don't care what type of salad they telling you they sell. Ain't nothing healthy coming out of there. And so, but that is what those people in that community have. And like food is expensive. If I go to lunch anywhere decent, it's costing me $15, $20 now for one person. It used to be $5, $6. Now it's $15, $20. So that is, in my eyes, an adequate representation of food apartheid communities. We've been discussing, along with other farmers in the area, all of the vacant lots that food could be grown on in North St. Louis City, and getting that done, the funding for it, the manpower for it. It's a fight. It's a struggle. It would be great if we could have certain lots where food, healthy food, stuff like this, blackberries. We grow blackberries. Had a bunch of them, big old buckets of them last year, where those things could be grown and those people in those communities would have access to that healthy food. Because, and we were talking about the girls, we were talking to the girls at Hawthorne about this. When you don't have healthy food, it affects your mental state. Everybody's talking about mental health. I mean, if all you eating is chips and donuts and McDonald's and stuff, you're not gonna have the brain capacity that you're supposed to have. I taught, and my kids would come in with soda and chips at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to function like that. You're not. And they would see me eating oranges and grapes and apples. Mr. Lewis, why you always eating that fruit? Cause I need it. My brain needs it. And so it's not just, food apartheid doesn't just affect us physically, it affects us mentally as well. If we don't have better access to food in our communities, we'll keep seeing these mental health crises. We'll keep seeing all of these issues arising from people in our communities, and they're gonna say, well, they had this problem, they had that problem. What are they eating? Nobody ever asked that. What are they eating? So that's one of the things that I think also needs to be acknowledged when it comes to food apartheid, that it does not just affect people's health, but it affects our mental state as well, because it's the way our bodies function. Our bodies need nutrients to function. And if we're not getting nutrients, then we're basically making our bodies, our brain cells work harder on something that's not designed to help us. And so then you're already at a disadvantage. Now you're expected to learn the same stuff everybody else is learning. Now you're expected to perform the same way everybody else is performing. It's not possible. It's not possible. So
Systemic racism starts in the soil. Okay? Countries are built and are destroyed by their access to land and water. Okay? So when we start with not having access, you are already behind the 8 ball. You already have been put in a position of less than, because you cannot compete on a global level without certain nutrients in the world, period, and water. Those are the two huge things. And that's where it starts. And, people don't really understand that concept, but the way to really oppress a group of people is through their food and their water. I mean, that starts there and builds, like you said, then you can't compete on the educational level because your brain, is being fed chips in the morning. I mean, I think that's just the way of the world. And Until we're able to address that systemic racism that happens around food in our country, it's just going to keep snowballing.
So what are some of the sources of your water? Is it city water, wells? And then have you experienced problems getting water to be available to you? And then how might it affect future plans?
Well, we actually did have a water problem, and the way we were metered like a house, and we were actually a farm, so we had a meter, and we needed to use a lot of water. So my farming partner and I actually have the skills set so that we were able to go to the city and go, hey, you know, our $5,000 water bill, you know, we're not a house, and you could tell by the $5,000 water bill because houses don't use that much water. And we were actually able to work with the city to have our property rezoned as a agricultural piece of land in the city, which then they wiped out that bill. And I mean, there are ways, but you have to really have the skills to know who to go talk to, how to, and to be persistent, and to really push those issues. There's a lot of urban ag folks now in the city of St. Louis who have worked to revamp some of the urban ag, or to bring up and to create urban agriculture in the city of St. Louis, which was amazing. Like, for example, before COVID, this all happened before COVID, you could not have a farm stand on your community garden lot because, I don't know, that you couldn't do sales from your lot. And the idea was that, you know, I guess they were afraid of like people getting these lots and doing car repair, right? And having a bunch of old cars hanging out on the lot. So they were like, no, you can't have a business on your lot. So a bunch of urban agricultural people in St. Louis got together and changed that, so that when COVID happened, we were actually able to have a farm stand at our farm so that people could pick up flowers off of our porch, which got us through COVID. I mean, you know, just major pieces like that, water, you know, to have access to be able to have laws that benefit you instead of work against you is a big step.
Can I ask you a question? Did you have to put a water line in?
That's a difficult question. We did not. Our water line was existing, and we're about to put in another water line. But yeah, water lines are like $7,000 in the city of St. Louis.
Sometimes more than that.
Right. To have a water line put in, it's very expensive. We're about to put in a new water line, another water line.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got 3 different. Well, right now we don't have a water access problem at Confluence. However, I got 2 prior stories. Before Confluence, I was in Bell Fountain, and at a property out there, I had no water access at all. I mean, that was the beginning, man. I was putting burrows in my truck, driving it to my house, putting water in it, covering it up, driving it back, make sure it don't wobble and water go everywhere. It was a real mission, man. Man, we had the gallon jugs walking down. It was a mission, but and that was my biggest watermelon out of that, believe it or not, which is crazy, man. My largest watermelon that year was 44 pounds, and that's just off no water access. We did what we had to do for that one. Then my other story in the city, my city location now, you gotta have a non-difficult alder person, number one. So in the city of St. Louis, if you have a LRA property, you can get you can go to your alder person and get a key for your fire hydrant, right? And they're supposed to just give it to you, and then you got your access to your water. In my situation, my community garden, with my alder woman, it was an issue. So, you know, I was reaching out to her. I ain't heard from her in 3 months. So I reached out to, at the time, the president of all the people, whatever, Louis Reed. I reached out to him. She called me that day, talking about something. Why you going over my head talking to? I'm like, man, like I ain't even into all that. I just want some water, you know. But she got on my head because she felt like I was going over her. So they got their own issues with that. I don't know what they got going on, but they got nothing to do with me. So then she start saying, okay, I need to get a petition in the neighborhood to make sure you can do. I'm like, they don't care. So I went over there, got the petition. She still had a problem. So he said, so we was going back and forth, and a couple people told me you don't want to be on her bad side, so I left it alone. But my mom always told me don't let one monkey steal your show. So I got 200-foot long water hoses, and at the time I was standing across the street from the community garden, and I took it and just took it across the street. I didn't want to deal with it. So in the city, I don't have access to the fire hydrant because we don't get along. So I had to get, I don't know why, because I went over my head, yeah. So I get the water from across the street. But that's that situation. So you got to have somebody that want to play ball, per se. Yeah, so that's that.
All right, so as you hear, there are challenges, right, to this, but it sounds like you have to be creative, you have to get innovative, you have to be determined, knowledgeable, and you also have to be educated, because it seems like there's a lot of players that kind of get in the way or barriers in order for this work to be done. So do we have any questions from the audience at this point? Yes, ma'am.
Can you guys like explain the farm bill? Like what it's all about, like the details, and if you have like any specific like things within the farm bill that you're trying to like push that like help urban agriculture?
Yeah, for sure. It's being created now. Like I said, I'll be over there the first week of March. And policy is not my thing, but I feel like it's my responsibility because I'm in the space I'm in. So let me get that clear. So what I want to talk about, of course, land access, capital, change some type of policies like in order to get certain loans, the credit score issue. I want to get that away where we ain't got to rely on credit score and student loan debt. But sometimes they judge you off your money off your student loan debt. So just try those little things like that. Trying to throw in those tangibles, and just basically telling my story, to them, and try to get me personally, I want to work on easier land access, capital access, and kind of, I guess, take out those blocks, I guess, in the system where like I say, credit score, student loan, and all those things, those discrepancies that might be on your credit, on your financial report or whatever. Try to get those eliminated so we have better, I don't know, stuff like that. It's a process, I done talked to so many Congress people just telling my story. But basically, those are things in particular, I'm looking for, red line and all that good stuff.
What are some of the sources, though, for capital that you're aware of?
USDA got some grants, on there. Some programs mostly got loans like NRCS. They just, actually, I got a handout here. They doing on March 8th, we got from 6 to 8. It's St. Louis Urban Hub Focus Group. They actually gonna talk about some monies that they just received. So they trying, they got 207,000, for that. And so we do have a meeting for that, so we can talk about funding on that tip. But with USDA, it's a process because what people don't know, if you grow food, you gotta have a farm number first before you even get approved for any funds. You gotta have a farm number. And anybody can get a farm number. You can grow tomatoes in your backyard in a bucket, and then you have a farm number, right? So you have a farm number first. And now I got a form for that too, and I can make copies of that too. And then they got another form to prove that you're an underserved grower. So you just gotta fill that out too, right? So then you'll be in a system. So you gotta be in a system first to even get that. And then them federal grants too. You gotta apply for that. And I ain't like federal grants not easy, to be honest with you. I pay people to do that for me, but any other grant I could do, but that's just a lot of steps. So it's a process, try to make it less strenuous, I guess, because when you get on those sites, when you're doing federal stuff, it's all type of, you got to get your cage number. Man, you got a SAMS.gov. So you got all these things before you even get to that system. It's just a lot of, steps. And try to eliminate some of them steps, I guess. That's another thing I want to do. But it is money out there, but a lot of those monies are like collaborative. They got some land access ones too. You gotta you gotta search in there. But it's that type of money available. Yeah, it is, but just a lot of red tape you gotta go through to even get there. Yeah, if that makes sense.
To answer your question about the farm bill, I don't know a lot about the Farm Bill, but my farming partner who just walked into the room, Miranda Dushak, might have some answers as to how the Farm Bill actually relates to urban ag, this year's Farm Bill, what's happening and what's going on with the Farm Bill that would promote easier access for urban agriculture. Do you have any answers? And she also works for Cooperative Extension, so she might have a little bit of insight. Do you?
You want me to answer about farm, well, I want to say Tyran and I serve on the Farm Service Agency Urban Agriculture Committee. And in this, we're working on trying to help develop products, like from the USDA, that are more applicable from urban farmers. So like a change that's really exciting is instead of having services based on acreage, it's now based on square foot. So that's huge, right, for urban farmers. The other source of funding I'm really excited about is SARE, Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. It's a program that's really near and dear to my heart. I serve on the Administrative Council for the 12th state, and we get to allocate $10 million in funds this year. And many of that is direct payments to farmers. So the Farmer Rancher Grant is up to $15,000 for one farmer. And what's exciting about that grant is a competitive process to fund innovative ideas, but also outreach and education, right? And what's exciting about it is, right, Tyran's talking about USDA programs, you sort of have to pay to play. Get your farm number, right? You're in the system. SARE, you don't need a farm number, and it's not a reimbursement grant. Most of the USDA products are matching grants or reimbursement grants. SARE is not. You get the funds up front to do your project. So there's lots of exciting things. I'm happy to farm with Mima and work on the policy things with Tyran and Nishad and other urban farmers. And for more information, you can contact any three of us. I also work for Lincoln University Cooperative Extension. That's my day job. That's one of Missouri's HBCUs, land-grant institutions. So we offer services at no charge to urban, rural farmers, limited resource, historically underserved, racial minority, families making under $50,000 a year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Good information. No, all good, all good. Anybody have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
With the changes to the LRA properties that has been released in the last month where folks are having to buy those properties, do any of you have, are you aware of this change? It was just put into play in the last, I think, month or so, and it's really going to change the landscape of land, specifically in the city of St. Louis. Is it on your radar, or how are you attacking it?
I just found out about that last week, to be honest with you, so I don't know where that's at right now. I don't know what to think about that, really. I don't know what way it's going to go. I know I just put a greenhouse down there on mine, so we'll see. But I just found out last week. Yeah. So.
We were discussing a grant that we were working on where we could do something with the LRA properties. We was talking about maybe like 5 of them, seemed to do something with 5 of them. But because of the changes, we had to go in a different direction because we're not sure. So now we're going to see if we can get more access into schools instead of using those LRA properties because we're not sure of how it's going to affect things in the future.
So you had to pivot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
What has been your most reliable plant to grow?
Me personally, peppers, sweet peppers.
Yeah, that's a pepper man.
Yeah, peppers is my thing. I grow purple, brown, yellow, red, orange. I like starting you're supposed to start your peppers indoors here in this area because the last frost is like April 15th, and that's not a long growing season for peppers if you start them in the ground. So I start mine probably about 2 months ahead of that indoors, and I like my peppers to be about a foot tall when they go into the ground, when they go outside. I put them outside earlier than I'm supposed to. You're not supposed to put them outside till about the 2nd week of May. And the reason for that is they don't like any cold weather, like 50, 40 degrees, they don't like that. And so, but if they're bigger, they're stronger, they're more robust, they can handle that temperature. My mom just walked in not too long ago, and I grew her garden. I told y'all the story earlier. We start getting peppers when? Early July? Early July, and we have peppers all the way through November every year. Big buckets of peppers. So peppers is my thing. Sweet bell peppers. We don't like store-bought peppers. We hate them. We don't think they taste good. They're not as nutritional. But I'm telling you, when you taste a ACP pepper, a Corona pepper, a chocolate pepper, man, it's like tasting candy. It really is. And it's healthy for you too.
Corona pepper.
Healthy for you. Corona pepper. Yeah, everybody got, I said, I grow Corona peppers. They're like, what? No. Corona pepper existed before the coronavirus. And they're the sweetest orange bell pepper that I have tasted to date. And they're about the size of my fist, but I eat them like an apple. They're that sweet. So peppers is my thing. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Watermelon my thing, but I mean I like okra easy. I think cucumbers easy to me, but but watermelon my thing. Put a lot of, and I think I put most of my energy into watermelon, to be honest. Yeah, we started them in the greenhouse in March. We put them outside around Mother's Day, and let them do their thing. Yeah.
For me, it's zinnias is the easiest thing to grow. And they're colorful, easy.
Okay. Well, Tyron, one of the things you and I talked about was collards.
Yeah.
Because during Thanksgiving and certain holidays, and for most African American homes, greens, mixed greens, are something we cook all the time. But during Thanksgiving, I couldn't find any collards, and I had an attitude. And so it's, we should be able to grow, the things that we eat that are familiar to our culture. And so I think that goes to, when we talk about supply, right? The supply chain and the demand, and then also the communities and where those are available.
Well, you want some collards this time, I got you.
All right. Jen, I saw your hand here in the, yes.
Yeah, you were talking about the different varieties of peppers that you grow, so I was curious about where you get your seeds from and what seed saving and seed sovereignty looks like in the space for
So I started buying seeds at Walmart, Menards, stuff like that. I was not aware of the amount of seed companies that there are online and the different varieties. I started primarily with Southern Exposure Seed Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
They are a company, one of the Carolinas. I think it's North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. They have a very, very, very large selection of seeds. I only deal with heirloom seeds. That's just a personal preference that I have. But that is the main place where I get seeds. I've been doing some research and I've gotten seeds from different companies. Seed Savers Exchange is another good one. I just ordered some seeds from, I think it's called Urban Farmer Seeds. They're a company that I just ordered some seeds from literally like a couple of days ago. And they have a very, very large selection of seeds. And as far as saving and utility, I do buy seeds every season, but I'm still growing food from seeds that I purchased in 2018. I'm growing kale, I'm growing peppers, I'm growing herbs. I like using those seeds first, and I found that those seeds do not stop germinating. You got to do your due diligence as far as germination. Make sure the temperature's right. Make sure the soil is well fed, and make sure the soil is moist. All of that stuff. But I do buy seeds every year, but I still use my earliest seeds, and they still work just fine. Did I answer your question completely?
In addition to his what he said with seeds, I want to say Johnny Seeds, Baker Street. That's the largest, I guess, independent seed company in the United States, and it's in Missouri, Mansfield, Missouri. Also, there's a black-owned seed company called Tide Seeds. I get a lot of seeds from them, and they sell in bulk too. So Tide Seeds, yeah, TODD, yeah, Tide Seeds, black-owned. So I go there. I say I haven't bought. Well, this year I bought some watermelon seeds because I got more space. But I haven't bought watermelon seeds in probably like 3 years. I keep my own. Like I breed them. Like I try to find like the largest and sweetest watermelon, and I take the seeds from there, and I just keep them. Keep my own seeds on there. Keep my own okra seeds. I'm gonna start saving more seeds. I think I need to save more. I'm gonna get to. That's just time consuming, you know. But I wanna keep all my seeds. I'm gonna start doing tomatoes and cucumbers this year too. I just think we're going through a food shortage soon. I just know it is, and I just wanna have my seeds. You know, I just feel like something to come. But yeah, so I really prefer keeping my own seeds though.
I do no seed saving, and I should be shot for that. But for me and the way our production works, and we're on such a small footprint, I buy seed. Seed is probably the cheapest. Miranda might disagree, but seed is the cheapest thing we do on our farm, is to buy seeds. Seeds are cheap. But what I want to say about seeds is that it's really important that you do try and save food seeds. We don't grow any food. So it's important because there is going to be a food shortage. It is coming. And again, you know, people who have power have water, land, and seed. The seed companies, they will release varieties that they want to release, and they won't release varieties that they don't want to release, right? So that's a lot of control over the farmer. I just think it's really important to save seed. I'm in a different business, so I'm not saving my food seed. I buy food from people like these guys.
You had a question, my bad. Did I make you forget?
No, I think it was, do different companies have like different companies' seeds of like the same thing have like different quality of like the outcome of the seed? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. My favorite seed company is Tides and Baker's Creek and Johnny's. Johnny's a little bit more expensive than the other two I named, but I always got good germination out of those. Seed savers, they good, but I had some that had low germination rates on seed savers, but they do have good organic seeds. But I had some packets wasn't the same, you know, and some.
There's definitely seed varieties that are what you buy in Lowe's is not going to be the same thing you buy from Johnny's.
Yeah.
There is, and I think that's what you're asking, is there different?
Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is.
There's a difference in the quality of the seed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy seeds.
Or how it's been treated, or how old it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy seeds from Home Depot. I'm not saying
Right.
you shouldn't, it's wrong, but I just wouldn't buy seeds from a Home Depot or some type of place like that. I get from seed company, me personally.
Most seed companies, they test their germination rate for that year, and so they'll put on the package. What's Richmond green apple? That's your favorite cucumber. They put on the package, you need to plant 3 or 4 because the germination rate that we got was only 68%. Like they'll let us know. And so that helps us, and it's ironic that year I planted 4, all 4 of them sprouted. So, you know.
Yes, you have a question?
So, how do y'all feel about like mainstream farmers markets? So, I know like at Soulard, some people say if you shop with certain farmers there, the produce and stuff is like pointless of buying it because it's coming from somewhere called like Produce Row versus the more independent farmers that you shop with there. To say I might get a discount, but I feel like, you know, what's the point of that if it's the same stuff? is going into Aldi. So like, how do you feel about determining the best farmers market or farmers to shop with at farmers markets, and like, is it, you know, meaningful?
Oh, yeah. About to answer that question, Tower Grove is all local farmers, local growers. Right?
That's not true.
It's not true. I thought it was.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
okay.
A lot of people do think that.
Okay.
A lot of people do think
Okay.
that because that's what they project, but that's not true.
Okay. I never been up there, so she. Oh, yes.
80% at Tower Grove.
80%, yeah.
Product needs to be 80%, that your product needs to be 80% that you grew.
Okay.
But-
at Soulard, yeah, you're right, it's like produce.
Yeah, but Soulard definitely is produce row. Yeah.
Right.
Or they got. I think it's a couple growers maybe coming from Farmington, I think. But most of that is, I was gonna say 90% of that is produce row. But yeah, I didn't know it was.
Yeah.
90%.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the way I would rank it in my brain, Soulard, you know, I would go to shop at Tower Grove first. And I mean, the number one thing is know your farmer. You know, ask them, did you grow this? And hopefully they'll tell you the truth. So I would shop Tower Grove, Soulard, and then Schnucks.
So that was going to be one of my questions. Where do you sell your products? How do people know where to get the most naturally grown produce?
I sell at B. Wells Farmers Market. That's another one, right? Because out there, that's on Salisbury, 2727 Salisbury in Hyde Park. That's that. I do sell to some chefs locally here, so I do that. I sell North Syrup Food Hub. I know they make diabetic meals for Barnes Jewish Hospital. They do other stuff, Operation Food, certain things of that nature. So I sell that. So most of that stuff will come from Confluence. I also sell the City Greens. So my product is in there too. And I do the CSAs, and and people that know me, they can pull up, and I don't want to turn into I'm skeptical of saying that I sell stuff on the things. I don't want a whole slew of people coming up there. So, I don't want to say that. But because that's not my land I own. If that was my stuff, I'd let everybody come up and do your thing, pick whatever. But that's not my land. So you gotta know me to come up there and do that. So, but yeah, that's.
Okay, awesome. So what are some of the places that are important to you as a farmer, other farms or businesses that help you and that you believe are important?
Oh man, you got Jima, you got New Roots, you got Rusty Root Sanctuary, Red Circle, yeah, Earth Dance, man, I don't want to leave nobody out. We just throw them out there.
You said New Roots?
Yeah, New Roots.
Pearson, Phi Global.
Oh, yep, there you go.
Go for Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch. Yeah, there you go,
Mitch.
Mitch. Yeah, see, I know farmers' names, so Mitch and I know people in the city, like Tina.
So there are plenty out there, right?
Yeah.
But not enough.
Growing food, growing people.
Yeah, growing food, growing people. Yeah.
Kind of tying into that, I'm just curious, has AmeriCorps St. Louis helped you at all this year? They said they would.
No, I don't.
I was just like curious if I've been putting that on their radar.
Okay.
Kept being like, yeah, for sure.
Make up like grants, because I worked for AmeriCorps for a year. If you're a nonprofit trying to like build something sustainable, all you have to do is call up AmeriCorps
Write it down.
and they'll like pay the people, so you don't pay them, they get a free health insurance. And then these people who typically have college degrees, if that's what you want, they don't have to, they will write up your grants. Like I did that for like a year in a nonprofit here for like sex trafficking awards and food, but they literally will come in, write your grants, write everything, and that'll be their degree area, and they'll build up your nonprofit from the roots.
Hey, we sure wrote that down right on. Shit. Yeah, throw me that too. It's all good. Yeah, come on with it. Yeah.
I'm gonna go here and then here. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a BIPOC or Black Urban Farmers Association where you all come together and support one another?
Is there?
Share your expertise with one another for new up and coming people?
That's dope. We trying to start that now. we had a meeting what was that last month. Yeah, like last month. So we trying to start that now. Yeah, that's a good question. We need that. Yeah.
Nationally, for flower growers, there is.
Okay.
It's a fairly new association. That we put out a book called Black Flora. So flower grower, I think the flower movement is way more advanced or more accelerated than the food. You know, flowers are so different. People, one, they're way more expensive than food, which is crazy to me. But it's just, you know, with slow food comes slow flowers, and for some reason the flowers have really taken off in African American communities and across the country. So it's more of a national organizations about flowers, BIPOC organizations.
It's very important to have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And you can gain the knowledge from the people, like Ernest is gaining knowledge from working with you. If you see that on a larger scale, then you will be able to have a greater impact. I'm listening to you all talking about the LRA land for sale. I'm going to see if I can buy something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you'll have places where you can continue to do this. So the more you coming together and having these opportunities where you're able to speak and educate us, and then we are able to say, okay, what can I do to support what you're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. All right, here.
So I live out in Eureka, so I don't get to come down to like St. Louis a lot. What are some things I can do to benefit, you know, like black-owned farms and like urban farming areas? Other than, because like I don't have a school system in the city. I can go out to Eureka High School, so what can I do to help?
You know, spread the word. You know, share stuff on Instagram. Instagram is Hayward Urban Farming. Just to let you know. Yeah, and all social media share that. Purchase from us. You know, want to volunteer. I see you with my favorite volunteer group, so you'll be helping out like that. So yeah, things of that nature. You know?
That's the best thing. Spread the word about what we're trying to do, the struggles that we're trying to overcome, and the communities that we're trying to help. Spread the word.
Can you just give me a brief explanation of like what produce row is?
What is Produce Row?
Yeah, Produce Row is where food is shipped in from South America or wherever, other countries, and it comes into a hub in Florida, right? And then then from the hub in Florida, it gets distributed across the country to all 50 states. And St. Louis has one of those hubs. And then from there, the food is distributed or bought by vendors who then take that food, repackage it maybe, and sell it at Soulard or somewhere else. So it's a food chain, but that food is so old sometimes, by the time you get it,
It's starting to
it's
rot.
lost all of its nutritional value.
Or picked early.
Or
it can
picked-
last
yeah,
long.
right.
So you're not getting the full quality. The taste not gonna be good.
Right.
Not gonna be sweet. All that good stuff. You know.
Okay.
I knew you explained it good. That's why.
All right. So why are black farmers important and flower growers?
I mean, we important because you know, we got the food. You know, it's good. I mean, historically, like when you think about black people and farming, you think about slavery, right?
Right.
But really, we farmers, like period. Like before the slavery, all that, we farmers. That's what we did. You know, we look at it like that was just our punishment, right? We came over, we got to farm, but no, that's not even true. We taught them how to farm, right? We taught them all that. So it's important. This is the culture. This is American history. To be honest, like this is it. Like we did that. You know, my ancestors did that. Like I said, I'm a fifth generational farmer. Like I don't know, I get passionate about that, so.
So black farmers, I'm going to say BIPOC farmers, okay? If you got rid of the BIPOC farmers here in the United States, you would no longer be able to have access to lettuce, all right? You would no longer be able to have access to a bunch of the vegetables that you get today because there'd be nobody to harvest them. You know, you hear about H-2A programs where they bring in immigrants or Mexicans or whomever to harvest the food because nobody wants to do that here. That is real. You know, people do not want to be in those fields in the hot sun in the South or in Florida harvesting that bending over backwards. Or if you've seen Instagram where they have this chain of people throwing watermelons into a big truck, no one wants those jobs. It's real. To find labor to do that. If you eliminate those people, half of the food that you eat will come out of cans.
Awesome. All right, so, go ahead, others.
I wanted to say, come at it from a bit of a different perspective. I think it's important to see black farmers because of societal perception. We're young black men that are from inner city St. Louis or certain hoods, certain neighborhoods in St. Louis, and the perception is that we just thugs, we just gangbangers, drug dealers, stuff like that. And it simply isn't the case. There are a lot of black male farmers, young, like us, our age, here in the St. Louis area. We employ young, teenage, black male farmers. They're not drug dealers. They're not rappers. They grow food. And I think society needs to see that because the perception is well, black men they just fight, they just rap, they just play ball. No. And having taught young black men for over 10 years, that's all they wanted to do because that's all that they saw was successful in their communities. They just saw the drug dealers. They just saw the rappers or the ball players. They didn't see farmers. And I think that it's time for us to be seen because we are successful. If you follow us on Instagram, my Instagram is Claudius Urban Gardens, CLAUDIES Urban Gardens.
And he got handouts for y'all.
Pamphlets, cards, everything. If you follow us, you'll see the food that we got. We had multiple 30-plus pound watermelons last year. Multiple. Big buckets of peppers, big buckets of cucumbers, big buckets of tomatoes, and everything tastes better than anything you will find in your local grocer. So just knowing that we're out here is not just about you getting good food, but knowing that it's people from your community that society says is destructive. No, we're building. We're not turned down. We're building, and we're trying to grab other young men to help them build too. So.
Awesome. So I'm going to end with one question and then a statement. What are your plans for the future? And do you want to expand your current operations?
I'll go first. This is my first year doing Claudius Urban Gardens. Our goal this year is 40 gardens. It's early in the season. We have 6 contracts and we have 2 appointments next week, so we're at about 8. So our goal is 40. I think if we can get 40, then I can start hiring some employees, doing some trainings, things of that nature. So now my organization is not a non-for-profit, but I want to add that to our organization after this growing season. That's our plan. So we are for-profit right now, but we do want to expand to be able to hire employees, and we want to help turn St. Louis into a bunch of mini gardeners. We want a bunch of mini gardeners in St. Louis. And so that's my goal. We don't sell food, we sell gardening services. So we help you put your garden together. So that's what we do. That's my goal.
All right, me. Well, I got like I say, we a nonprofit, and I got the for-profit side. nonprofit we excited about this year. We to continue our Farm to School. I'm excited about Brittany Woods jumping on our bandwagon. I got something with Matthew Dickey with the Green Machine they got the water towers, so I'm over there with that. Interested. We got a Head Start on the south side that we want to work with. Got Hawthorne School for the girls. We got a Oak Hill Elementary School after-school program. So continuing with the outreach in the schools and looking forward to collaborate with some other schools. For-profit side, we want to add more chefs. So I got a couple more new chefs online. Expanding. We got an extra acre this year. Looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. but yeah, so that's cool. But my goals, like down the line, for real, have my own land. Like I said, I'm farming somebody else's land on my own land. I do got some stuff in the work. I don't know, just sit back on that. Might be some good news coming up. But I do want to get some my own land. And I want to create, like my dream is like to have a You Pick It farm. They come up there, they pick it themselves. I have the kids come out like I do now, but hands-on training. Probably have a somewhere like a pond on that lake so people come fish, have camps out, do added value product more. I'm getting more to my pickles this year. My son TJ's Pickles, he make his own pickles, so we'll get that rolling out even more. We kind of touched the market last year. We're gonna really get that out there in City Greens and things of that nature. My daughter does hot sauce, so Jay does hot sauce. So we're gonna make that. I'm trying to pump my kids up so they can learn entrepreneur, how to be an entrepreneur, and so they see their daddy doing it. So I want them to do it, and yeah, looking forward to the fly-in that we got in DC to talk to Congress, see what this farm bill gonna look like, and yeah, just hitting the ground running really. I gotta stay busy with my brain, so just stay busy. That's all.
I've been doing this 30 years. I'm not looking to expand. I'm looking, at the exit plan, right? Trying to save a little bit of my body. Farming is hard on the body. Things I'm looking forward to. We have a national convention of 400 flower farmers coming to St. Louis in November, and I'm so proud that we've been selected as a city and our farm as the destination farm for the farm tour of that conference. I'm really, really excited that St. Louis is going to be a host to that. Yeah, I'm not looking to expand. We're on one acre that contiguous lots, which I think is like really rare in the entire country for urban farm. You can find us at Urban Buds City Grown Flowers on Instagram and Facebook, and at the Tower Grove Farmers Market on Saturday, at the Clayton Farmers Market on Sunday. We also have a CSA. You come to the farm and pick up your flowers off the farm. And if you're getting married or have any special events, we have weddings in the bucket. We call it parties in the bucket now. And if you have an event that you're doing, you could buy a bucket and do it yourself too. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I'm just going to say that with visibility comes credibility. It raises awareness. And as we continue to partner and to be a resource, not just for our community, but for those who are doing this work, we want to raise awareness. And so we want to thank our panelists this morning for joining us. So you all give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
So again, thank you so much for sharing the knowledge, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.